Don't get me wrong, I think the Chronicled Wish is a fantastic addition to Genshin Impact. I think it's going to make the overall experience for new and veteran players alike, free-to-plays, low spenders, and whales. In my opinion, the Chronicled Wish is a W. However, there are some pretty big issues with the banner system that I neglected to talk about, and they actually have more negative implications than you might think at first glance. In addition, I really think it's important to be careful how you approach these banners and how you approach building your account going forward. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. So I've basically made a little pros and cons list because there are some really good pros. Number one, Genshin's finally solved the character issue, the standard banner character issue. You no longer have to worry about never being able to pull Mona or about getting your Dea constellations and making her actually good. There's a way to target those things. Great. They've solved the weapon issue. There were certain standard banner weapons, or not standard banner, but standard banner character weapons, Beacon of the Reed Sea, Hunter's Path, and any other future standard banner characters they introduced. There was no way to get their weapon past original release. This is actually a great and elegant solution, and overall the weapon side of this banner is a W. The third issue they solved is the rerun issue, and don't worry, we're going to get to the major cons in a second, but I just have to talk about the positives first because again, overall I think this is a W. There is a massive rerun problem in Genshin that I talked about in my most recent banner prediction video, where I highlighted that if they didn't start triple banner reruns soon, they would not be able to rerun characters even once a year or even once per version patch. So literally, as a new player coming in, if you just missed your favorite character, you might have to wait a year and a half to get the character that you wanted if they didn't increase the speed of reruns. So, yay, 3 issues solved. Now, there are 2 major problems with this banner system. Number 1 is the fate points for characters. And I know all of you know about this. I know I've even talked about it, but it's a bit of a bigger issue than I initially realized. Okay, let's imagine a hypothetical. To my understanding, this banner lasts the entire version. So let's say you were a good boy and you saved enough wishes to get either Kazuha or Novelette. Say you got, you saved up 220 wishes. You've been holding them, you've been waiting for Kazuha. There haven't been any other characters you wanted, and you wanted Kazuha. So you put your guarantee on your Kazuha, but you get him early. You get him after, 20, 30, 40 pulls. You have a bunch of pulls left and you really want Arlecchino now. So you've got your guarantee ready for Arlecchino, but you have some extra wishes. You're going to be getting, your daily wishes, your event wishes. You're going to be getting your Welkin, or maybe not Welkin, maybe you're just free to play, whatever it is. But you have, you've done the math and you figure I have 50, 60 wishes to spare. Maybe I even have a soft pity. Maybe I even have 70 wishes to spare. Now what? You really wanted, Klee or Eula or Jean or whatever. You really wanted them. Now they're here. You have some wishes left over. You've been a good boy. You've saved your guarantee, or a good girl, or a good other. And now you're kind of stuck, because if you lose your 50-50 to Eula and you get Diluc instead, now you're sitting there with a fate point, and you either have to waste your Arlecchino guarantee to make use of your fate point, or you have to waste your fate point. And wasting your fate point really sucks. This really should have just been a fate point, should have just carried over, or it should have just been the regular 50-50 system. Your fate point should be carrying over, because this just really hurts people who, get in early. They want to throw a few extra wishes on. This isn't even like the gacha addicts, which I was making fun of a bit in the last video, for just throwing a ton of pulls whenever they get them. And yeah, if you throw those pulls and you waste your fate point, that's a bit more on you for not planning. But sometimes you can't plan. Sometimes you get an early and you do want the character, or maybe you just have 70 pulls left, and on a normal 50-50 banner you'd be able to just use your 70 pulls. Maybe you don't even care about Arlecchino, maybe you don't even care about any future characters, you just really wanted Eula. But with only 70 pulls left, if you lose your 50-50, then you waste your fate point. So what does that mean? Now you have to wait for her whole next rerun banner on the next Mondstadt banner, which, maybe it'd be sooner than it would have otherwise, but it still just really sucks. It's a really sucky system. It puts you in a really kind of sucky situation, and it's kind of saved by the fact that the weapon system is really good, but it's not really, because that's actually like a really big problem that's people are gonna have to wrestle with. And I get it, like Genshin, they're putting you in the position where you have to spend or get your character, and it is very nice for sure that you can lose your 50-50 to Klee. That's like a really good character to lose your 50-50 to, or lose your Jean 50-50 to Eula and get Eula constellations. That's really cool. But unless you're willing to spend, or unless you get really lucky, or unless you're willing to take that huge gamble and waste that fate point, this could really mess some people up, and that's sad to see. It's especially sad for this very first set of banners, because coming into this, we didn't know this was coming. You didn't know that you needed to save up so many pulls for these characters. People didn't have time to plan for this banner. Now in the future, we have a bit more time. You really will have to, like, I'll have to make a new video on account planning, because this really, it honestly changes how you plan your account, because you have to consider that the character you want might end up on this banner and they might rerun a lot faster, and it could really jump scare some people. Again, I still think that the positives outweigh the negatives, but I really downplayed the negatives in my other video, and I wanted to highlight it because it's very important that people know how much of a negative this is. Now, I want to talk about some things that people are saying that are big problems with it, but I actually don't think they are, because I want to call out the real problems, not the fake problems. The fake problems are, you know, oh, this banner doesn't use standard wishes. The reality is you get like 10 standard wishes a month, or even a patch, 5 from the battle pass, 5 from whatever. Maybe you get 5 from a new region, so once in a while you're going to get 15 wishes. It really almost makes no difference, except for new players. For new players, for sure, this would have been nice. For all the Acquaint Fates hoarders out there, this would have been nice. But overall, it's really not a big deal. And I can see, like, there's positives. There's like, I hate to say this, but there's like, some people feel an intrinsic value towards the wishes that are spent to the characters. And if all of a sudden the characters are available for a discount, it kind of makes the other people feel ripped off. It's like some companies never put their stuff on sale, so that it also makes the current customers feel better knowing that when you buy a piece of clothing, that if it's never going to go on sale, you know you're getting, you know, your money's worth, for as long as you know you're not going to get ripped off later on, or you know you're not going to, if you buy your thing and it's never going to go on sale, you bought it at the best price, so you can feel good about your purchase more. So similarly, the fact that this banner is not a discount of wishes, people that already spent a bunch of wishes for Eula, people that already spent a bunch of wishes for Klee, they don't feel like they wasted their wishes before and that they should have saved them for now. Because that's really what they're trying to avoid, is like that buyer's remorse. Now, I think it's, you know, obviously it'd be nice if they were available for less wishes. I do think that would be an overall positive, but I don't think it's a problem necessarily. It would have been nice if you didn't lose your 50-50, or if there was a lower pity, especially since this round of characters are generally weaker. However, I think we're gonna get stronger characters in the future. The Leeway edition with probably Ganyu, probably Shenhe eventually. I think she hasn't had 2 reruns, so she won't be eligible for here yet. You know, but if Yelan ends up on here, you know, or Tartaglia, I think it might make some people feel ripped off or gypped or whatever if all of a sudden they could have saved and got their characters for cheaper. So I'm not saying that it's better this way than if they were cheaper. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there is another side to consider that makes it so it's not, that there is justification and that there is some benefit to some players by having it this way. Again, I think it would have been better if it was a cheaper pity, or someone suggested you can choose who you lose your 50-50 to. I think that would have been a really cool solution. It's also too bad that there's a higher weapon banner pity, right? It would have been great if they kept the pity the same, or if they lowered both pities to be the same and kept the 50-50 and kept the fate point. That would have been some sort of trade-off. It's still a better system for weapons, but there is a world where it's not a better system for weapons if you were the kind of person that waited until there were 2 good weapons on a banner and you wanted both of them. This is actually worse than that. Like, if you wanted both weapons equally, because you used to be able to get those 2 weapons for cheaper for 10 less pulls. So overall, I do think the weapon system is a dub, but there is a little bit of a downside to it as well. Not always, because sometimes you can't control whether the weapon you wanted was on with a weapon you want equally. Like, that's a pretty rare circumstance for that to happen. Like, that's like if you owned Hu Tao and Novelette and you wanted both Homa and the other weapon. But even then, if you really wanted both weapons, it's still, you might get one early and then go to max fate points for the second, and then you're still losing. So, or not even get one early. There's a situation where you could lose your 50-50 to a standard banner, then get the one you wanted, then chart your course for the other weapon, lose to the original weapon that you got twice, and then you would have had to, you have to pick so many 5 stars to get there. better. So even if you wanted both weapons, this system is still better if you want, say, both Hunter's Path and Beacon. The only time that this system is potentially worse is if you equally wanted just one of either weapon in the previous weapon banner system, which I think is just so rare that overall we can pretty easily say that this is a W. But it's just these little caveats that make it just, you know, I can see where people are coming from, especially people who are already super jaded on Genshin, that the little things that are wrong with it just eat away at people and make them feel like the whole thing is trash. Again, yeah, I think it's good. And then the final one that I really wanted to talk about is the 4-star problem. And this one I really, the other ones, like, I can see how I missed them originally, but the 4-star problem I've just been talking about, you know, the 4-star problem is still getting worse. And that is really sad that there's no selector for 4 stars, like that there's like 12 4-stars and you can pick 3 of them and sort of a create your own banner. That would have been really, really cool and a really nice way. Like if this would have been Mondstadt, there would have been a selection of Mondstadt 4-stars that you could also choose along the way, that there would be a selection of 4-star weapons that you could choose along the way, or you could choose one 4-star as like a rate up 4-star for you. Something to fix the 4-star hell that we are in. There has to be a pity system for 4-stars somewhere, somehow. There needs to be a way to get your 4-stars eventually. So I did want to look and see again if they did talk about the 4-star rates at all, because I think they made no mention at all. What are the rules? Is there a wish guarantee? There are guarantees for both 5-star and 4-star items. A maximum of 90 wishes conducted will secure a 5-star through the guarantee. You're guaranteed to win a 4-star above item at least once every 10 attempts. So it's the same, obviously it's the same 4-star system, which we knew. I just wanted to see if they talked about the 4-star pool. I also personally believe that the Chronicled Wish will always be available, because I really don't see your pity being carried over and not being available for viewing. I think whether this one that will last multiple versions or whether every single version there'll be a new one, that's what I kind of think. This version 4.5 Chronicled Wish and it'll last for both banners. Then there'll be a version 4.6 Chronicled Wish that will maybe feature leeway characters. That's what I think, but it's not confirmed yet, so we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't say what is confirmed. So overall, yes, it's a dub, but there are some big problems, and I do think it really will change how you plan your account. You will now need to be really careful about saying, I want this character, I want this character, I want this character, and start saving up for them. We'll do an account planning video soon of how to make your perfect account. So subscribe if you want to see that, because I think it's important to talk about that mindset now and building teams around your favorites. I think that's more important than ever with the Chronicled Wish coming out. So take care. Bye for now.